Hello, I'm Guillaume Poix. I'm a French writer. I write plays and novels. So far I've written, I would say, 10 plays and published 2 novels. And I wanted to talk about a special experience I did about writing, which mattered a lot to me because it taught me a lot. So I'm going to talk about a play and a novel. Both of them have the same topic. So in 2013 I went to Oslo, and I was visiting the town, and I got the chance to go to the Fotografiska museum, and there I saw a photograph exhibition by Peter Hugo that was called Permanent Error, and it was about the electronic dump site of Agbogbloshie in Ghana, in Accra, the capital of Ghana, and I had never heard about that site, so I was totally shocked by what I saw. And so it's the biggest electronic dump site on Earth. So there is another dump site, I think, in India and in China, and this one is in Ghana, in Western Africa. And so there is a huge site with hills of waste electronic devices that are being thrown away, sent there by Europe, America, and the devices are just thrown in the dump site, where people, mostly kids, work there, teenagers and kids work there, and extract the electric wires for the metals, the precious metals like copper, inside the devices, and they burn the plastic devices in order to get the metals. So it's a very chaotic area because the kids are poisoning themselves with the fumes and with the smokes of the burning. And it's also an environmental disaster because, of course, the land is totally soiled and rotten now. So there is sanitary issues and also political issues because this place is something like a scandal on Earth. So the photographs I discovered were showing the kids standing on the mountains of waste. And the images were extremely powerful, first of all because I had never heard of that site and I had never questioned myself about what is happening with my phone as long as I don't need it anymore, and where do I throw it. I don't even know where I have thrown all my phones, and so I was totally shocked by my own ignorance about that and about the way we get rid of our stuff without having any sense of responsibility. And I was also very shocked by the pictures because they were very beautiful, because the scenery was extremely dramatic, and the burnings and the lights were incredible, and the bodies of the kids and teenagers posing on the photographs were very willing and very powerful. So there was a very kind of a biblical image, and I was very I had mixed feelings about that, and I immediately thought that that's a place for fiction, because we need to talk about that place because it's very important to be aware of that location, and that on the other hand it's absolutely contemporary. It's really about who we are now, our human species, who we are now at that time and space. And so at that time I was only writing drama, so I had the idea of a play, and I first imagined a simple scenario with kids working there and who would be trying to cope with life, and so that was very simple. But as long as I started writing the play, or attempting to write the play, I was absolutely incapable of doing it, because I had the feeling that the language I would use was quite obscene, because I hadn't been to Ghana, I hadn't met these people, and I was questioning why would I write about them, and how would I make them speak since I have no clue about the reality of their own lives. So, and for me, theatre, well, the plays I like are the plays that question language, because for me what is very powerful on stage is, of course, the actors and of course the stage direction and all of that, but most of all what strikes me is when there is a language, when there is someone talking to me, and when there is an attempt to talk about the world of today through language. So I had this ambition of trying to find something interesting to do with the language, and the more I was working, the more I felt that I had to go on an unrealistic level. I had to invent a total new way of writing. So I decided that maybe the scenery of the dump site would give me the structure of the writing, and would give me the structure, the syntax, the grammar of a new language I would be able to write. And what made me thought of that was when I saw the photos, so there were huge hills of waste, and I was thinking all the waste here are coming from all over the world. So it's like I had this image of the Tower of Babel, so as if the waste was going to like go up the sky, containing all the language of the world. And I was like, this is the way we all gather through waste, like humanity would meet through waste. So I thought I need to recreate a Babelian language that would be made of many influences like German, Spanish, slang, French, and also mixing the levels of language, not only popular language but very refined language. So I tried to build the characters started talking in my head through chaotic sentences that you could almost understand, but you would be very the effect was to recreate the shock I had looking at the photos. So thinking the audience in the theater will have to listen to that and think, what am I hearing? It's a mixture of so different and impure influences, that what is that language? And I wanted to recreate that effect of shock that had seized me when I had watched the photos. So that was the biggest work of it, and also the most challenging work I was doing at that time. There was another issue about that play, because of course I'm a European man writing about a country in Africa, which has been an ancient colony of the British, and so of course this question of sending your waste to Africa as a European man is very challenging, politically speaking. So I was trying to reflect about that and think, what is it supposed to mean? So I was aware that if the play was to be performed, the actors would be black people, and would be people who would represent for the European eye characters of oppression. And so I knew that we had at that time very big debates in France, and we still have, about is the stage representative of the diversity we find in the society. Do the texts, do the actors embody something that is truly contemporary about the world we live in, and not something that was 50 years ago when there was less diversity in the society? So I knew the play would question the difference of the perception we have of political links between the societies. So that was a play with many problems, and I was thinking that maybe the precise work, the sharp work on language would enable me question all this. so I wrote this play, and the play was performed, and at some point I felt a bit frustrated because I felt I hadn't gone far enough in the writing process. So I wanted to go further, and I thought, how can I deepen the topic? And at that time I hadn't written any novel, and that was an idea that I had, so I thought maybe I should try to write my first novel about that, because it's a big topic to try to seize. So, and since writing a novel is taking way more time than a play, depends on the projects, but and that's maybe the thing I would like to say about what I could experience between writing plays and writing novels, because I've written 2 novels so far. When I write a play, I know that I'm going to be I'm kind of writing for someone. That can be a team, a director, an actor. I know there is a whole team who's gonna like take the text and live it and embody it and think about it. Whereas when I started writing my novel, I didn't know who I was writing for. I felt there was like a huge silence. Of course, I was thinking of maybe a publisher and maybe a reader, but at that time, without having any certainty when I wrote, that was the biggest challenge, because I was like, am I doing it for whose sake? And I was so I kind of experimented that the time was much longer, the course of the thought was much longer, much more frustrating in a sense, because I could never send a scene to the director and tell him, can you give me some feedback, and then I can rework. So I need to go to the end of something through months, and then maybe there will be a text. So that was very challenging. But what was very interesting was that it was as if for the play I had done the preparatory work that made me document myself, because in order to be quite close from the topic, I was documenting myself quite a lot through radio, through cinema, through reports, interviews. So I was trying to have the clearest image, but still an image, but the clearest image of that dump site, studying it from France. And so I was, so I had documented myself. I had done that, for me, that big step of thinking a new language for the dialogues of the characters. But there was something that I felt was missing, was the visual power of the dump site, which I had experimented through the photographs. And I was thinking, okay, when I write the play, I rely on the director to create the image, but as a novelist, I'm going to have to create this image, because I'm going to have to convince a reader to turn the page and to put the reader inside the dump site. And that's very difficult, and that's very contradictory with theatre, because when you write theatre, you know that your mission is not necessarily to do that. The actor and the director will put the audience inside the play, but as a novelist you need to put the reader inside the text. So that's something I found extremely interesting and challenging. And so I guess that's why I had that fantasy of writing a novel, was in a way to be able to master all the elements of the fiction. So I got to write the novel, and what was extremely interesting in the reception of the novel was that I could see the theatrical force that had the novel, but I could discover also that there was something about the visual power of the language that I had not experimented at all in the play. So I would say that was quite unusual to go from theatre to novel, because most of the time, indeed, we adapt novels for stage, and I did the other way around. But I found it very interesting, because for me that was really a way to learn something really strong and decisive, I would say, for my writing. I would like to talk about another experience I had of writing, specifically a play. And that makes me talk about the commission, because in 2018, I would say, I was commissioned a play by a theatre in Geneva, the Théâtre de Poche, and they had the idea of adapting a French movie that was called La Piscine, the Swimming Pool, by Jacques Doré, a film that was released in 1969, and in France it's an emblematic movie because Alain Delon, huge French star, sex symbol in France, is performing in that film, and he's acting with Romy Schneider, we say in French. And Romy Schneider is a very emblematic actress as well, and I'm going to talk about her soon. And the movie is about, it's an erotic detective story where a couple, Alain Delon and Romy Schneider, who used to be a couple in life and kind of went back together during the movie, the legend says, are spending the summer by the swimming pool, loving each other, having sex and receiving friends, and at some point a friend of both of them is coming to spend several days, and the couple is gonna be destroyed because of that guy, and there's gonna be a murder. And so the ideal image of this amazing, beautifully couple by the pool in the south of France in an amazing villa is gonna be smashed by in dramas, to be synthetic. And so I was thinking a great idea to adapt that, and the more I was thinking, I was like, not that great idea, because of course the movie is very emblematic because we have those two stars, and we won't of course have the two stars. We won't have any swimming pool on stage. Showing naked bodies on stage is always something that can be awkward, or it's quite something. So I was like, probably not the good way. So I had accepted, so I had to to honor the commission. But I was thinking a lot, and I asked the director of the theatre if I could kind of change a little bit of the content of the commission. So he said, okay, but you need to have that rendezvous, that point. At some point, you need to have something about this movie, because that's something we would like to enlighten. And the intuition I had was that the actress Romy Schneider, who was performing in the film, was kind of becoming much more important than the movie itself. And I was quite fascinated, because she has been an important actress, I think, for many people, but especially because she played in a classical movie that's called Sissi. There are three movies and all the kids look at that, and the movies are often broadcast on television for Christmas, and so she embodies like the Princess of Austria, and so that's romantic movies. But then I was thinking, how does she, from Sissi to La Piscine, what happened to her? And what does she embody for French people? Because I could see that every French people had something very. There was a great emotion when you talk about Romy Schneider to a French person. There is a great emotion. So I was thinking, this actress is probably much more interesting to focus on. So I started saying, I'm gonna maybe do a theatrical biography of Romy Schneider, because I would like to talk about her and be more into her career. And they said okay, and so at the end, from the commission was to do a play of an hour and 20 minutes for 4 actors, and I did like a 3-hour-and-a-half play for 70 actors. So the theatre was I think they were expecting that, because that's the point of the commission. I think that what frees you is when you understand that you have been chosen and you are more important than the theme. Of course, the theatre has a cahier des charges. They have a very set missions to cope with, but at the same time they have a theme, they have an audience, but at the same time they came to get you. So I was like, so they want me to surprise them in a sense. So of course all the commissioners are not that welcoming with the proposition, but I think that's what we have to affirm and to be proud of, because commissions are a way to live and to earn a living for playwrights today. That's very common. So I think it's very important to be aware that the desire goes both ways, and for me it's always very interesting, because I know I'm going to meet someone, and I'm going to meet a topic I hadn't thought before, and also people are going to meet me. So that's always an encounter, and I found it very challenging in a way. So if I can focus more on the play, because the inquiry was quite fascinating for me. So this actress, I had the feeling that she was very important because she was born in Austria in 1938, and so in a very historical particular moment, and her mother was an actress, and her grandmother was also an actress, so there was kind of a dynasty of actresses in that family. And in the movies I mentioned, Sissi, the mother of Romy Schneider, plays also, and plays Romy Schneider's mother. So right at the beginning of her career there is an ambiguity between life and reality, and I found that was quite interesting. And what made me thought the actress Romy Schneider was a very mysterious person was that she got to have the French nationality because she was kind of rejected by Germany and Austria when she moved to France, and she had love stories with French actors, and she had kids, and she had she said that France was her homeland, and so she had both nationalities. And I found it very interesting in terms of European construction, because I was thinking, what is it to be an actress that is German and French at the same time after World War II, and trying to make a career in the 1950s, 60s, 70s. So I was thinking her career would tell me a lot about what Europe became after World War II, and how the construction of the European Union was possible also through that kind of character. So I was aware that she had a political role that she maybe ignored at the moment, but that was very important. And so I started looking one movie, two movies. There were, like, I would say 10 movies I had seen. She had performed in 65 movies, I would say. And so I was at some point thinking, I'm going to watch again the movies I know, and then I'm going to watch more movie. And at some times I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch all the movies she did. So I was watching 2 movies a day she performed in, and I was starting to write and create the structure of the play and think about how I could write it. And there was a turning point at some point in the process, where that movie after movie I could see that she was all the time beaten up in the movie. She would receive a slap by her husband, or it would be much more violent, or it would be like a martyr, like in the old gun, Le Vieux Fusil, where there is a really traumatic scene. And I was extremely, in a sense, shocked, because I was like, if today a woman is beaten up in a movie, or she receives a slap, it's something. I mean, the scenario is gonna think that gesture, and the movie is probably going to question that act, but absolutely not in the movies I was seeing. So, and I was watching. So I was was a bit weird, because I had the feeling I was, of course, being taken back to my point of view of a man today, and so I could see the time passing on the movies, but also I could see that there was something deeper. Why do we say nothing when a woman is slapped in the movies? So it of course documented me on a certain bourgeoisie way of living, where the husband would just not of course not only in the bourgeois class, but she also played bourgeoise, so she often plays a bourgeois character. So I was thinking, I'm documenting myself on how my grandparents were living. Maybe my grandparents thought it was totally normal, and the lady had to obey the husband, and that was what it was. But at the same time, I was constantly aware that she was also the German lady. So when something in us as French people could maybe enjoy watching the German lady being slapped or beaten up, and at some point, watching movies after movies, I found it extremely striking to discover that maybe what fascinated us was her double identity, and also the fact that she was, because she was extremely beautiful, and she had on screen she's really amazing, and she's an amazing actress, but at the same time there was a sense of enjoying destroying her. So I was thinking that's something that's constant in the history of women, of thinking that we have power on them, and we can destroy them. We enjoy their beauty, but we enjoy destroying them in the patriarchal system. And also there was this German identity that was, I would say, giving to the moment a very particular historic point of view. So I watched all the movies, and what was very interesting was that my eye and the inquiry was totally shifting the play and reforming it all the time. So that was a very vivid and striking experience of writing, because it was constantly moving, and I never know if I had finished to imagine the play. And that's why the play at some point became something quite huge but unfinished in a sense, because I was trying to find all the genre possible in the play to reflect all the diffraction of points of view and the kaleidoscopic eye we have on that woman. So the play sometimes belongs to vaudeville, or there are poems, or it's a scenario at some point, or it's a monologue, or it's a attempt of a novel. So the play is kind of covering all these genres in order for me to say this lady has touched her society at some point that is unreachable, that I can feel through her career, through the work she has done, and through what she tells me through that. But at some point she's totally there is something that I will not be able to seize, because her identity is absolutely impossible to fix, which is a kind of a paradox, because she's a cinema actress, and the idea is to have her image for eternity. And I was constantly trying to fight against this enjoyment we have of freezing images in order to keep them forever. And also at that time I was very questioning myself by how do you use your life in art, how do you not use your life in art, how do you cope with having a private life and working as an artist or a writer. And Romy Schneider was a fascinating example, because she worked because she died very early. She died at the age of 43, and her last 2 years are extremely tragic because her ex-husband hanged himself. She had a cancer, she lost a child, and then she died because she was taking pills, and well, she was extremely sad, and so her death, her young death, made her come into the legend. And so when I was documenting myself on her, I could see that she was constantly putting her life in the middle of the movies, and she was totally committed into her movies, and there were no more borders between fiction and reality, and between cinema and her life. And I was very fascinated by that, because I was questioning myself, where do I put boundaries between my work and my life, and is it possible? Can I do good work if I pretend to not write about me? Is it going to be too objective or too distant? Do I put myself in the work? So it was very interesting to see and to learn through her experience. And also, it's something we hear, I think, quite a lot about the artist not necessarily being into the real life, or because we would be, I don't know, people who have no needs or desires or social backgrounds, and we would be, I don't know what, just substance. And I totally disagree with that, and I was fighting a lot against that. And I think Romy Schneider, for me at that time, she embodied that, and that kind of radical choice of thinking you cannot put boundaries. I mean, of course there are natural boundaries, but writing is a life, as acting is a life, and performing is a life, and you can't pretend to have a life that doesn't take into account that it will always be mixed, and that's what's gonna nourish the work. Tu puches. Foutu ça. Tu brades. Yes. Mais ça, tu glanes. Tu puches, continue de pucher, va. Ça, à parquet gros. Tu puches, yes. Yes. Ça, gros, non. Ça pique et ça truc. À parquet gros. Isaac crache, un molar fuse. Tu chipes ça, tu chipes donc. Yes, gros, tu puches avec les mains. Ça, foutu. Il se racle le palais, crache de nouveau. Sauf si t'astiques. Dise, j'astique le chose. Aïe! Frottant ses doigts sur le moniteur qu'il a pioché et montré de près à Jacob, Isaac s'est fendillé un ongle. La douleur est vive. Crasse de tas de merde qui se font chipper. Il a jeté le moniteur responsable de la blessure et engage maintenant Jacob à le relayer, observant et commentant les gestes et les trouvailles de son élève. Bon. Ça, pas foutu. Pas foutu à cause que le jus peut se dégager encore, mais prends garde, gros. Encore un crachat, il recouvre sol et mots. Chip du truc. Chip, gros. Tu puches, mais yes! Déblayant bruyamment un fatras d'appareil rouillé, Jacob vient de trouver une carcasse prometteuse. Alors sûr que ça, mais sûr que tu vas le rabouler à ta coucherie, vieux gros, mon vieux salaud de gros. Tu chies bien, misère de gros. Ça transperce le cœur de Jacob. Il regarde furtivement Isaac, tentant de dissimuler la fossette qui lui barre la joue gauche. Vise-moi donc toutes les choses qui se chipent sur la bosse. T'as le destin pour toi, gros. Yes, use l'aimant. Use! L'aimant te clean le sol, tiens. Bise, ça te barbouille la pince de tout plein de chure. Tu puces avec, tu chipes, gros. On obéit. On obéit sans broncher. On est fasciné. On se sent bien, on a du talent. La preuve, on vient de dénicher quelques raretés. Mais tu puches comme never, misère. Tu jauges le Moïse, tu jauges comme il chipe la vedette. Jacob ne peut plus cacher son sourire, il irradie. Moïse, un peu plus loin, peine à œuvrer. Ça tout le handicap, et il n'a de toute façon guère le cœur à concurrencer Jacob, qui, chance du débutant, se débrouille mieux que bien. Yes. Ouvre voir le chose. Ouvre le clapet du chose qui se déchire le bordel. C'est un truc, ma parole. C'est le nouveau monde, gros. Philippe Noiret. Dire une belle chose de cette femme, cette actrice, et sans violon, qui soit rien que belle et pas complètement banale, idiote. Prendre la parole, ce n'est pas mon métier, il faut m'écrire quelque chose. Parce que ça ne regarde personne de savoir que je la voulais, que je l'ai voulu comme un caillou qui tombe dans l'eau, qu'il n'y ait pas de fond. Un bout de verre dépoli par l'eau salée, le bout de verre veut cette eau éperdument pour qu'elle fasse de lui ce galet de couleur, c'est vrai. Moi j'ai voulu l'aimer comme on mord dans une pêche pleine de jus. C'est trivial, vous voyez. Et je n'y ai jamais eu droit en vrai jamais. Jamais eu ce droit. Bon, je me rattrapais. Quand on disait moteur, je me rattrapais. Quand on avait dit action, là, c'était parti, c'était quelque chose. J'avais ma tactique. Ralentir les prises, les rythmes des scènes. Je jouais très doucement pour étirer le temps qu'on me donnait contre elle, contre toi. Je te parle, tu vois, c'est aussi simple que ça. Je jouais toujours les moches, les hommes ingrats, les gros, les hommes pas gâtés par la nature, toujours bridés par mon corps et la nature paysanne, ils disent, la nature paysanne de Philippe Noiret, la nature paysanne de mon gros corps lourd. Je pouvais la broyer, je pouvais te broyer avec mes gros bras lourds. Tu trouvais ta place et tes seins reposaient sur mon ventre quand je te serrais. Et quand c'était coupé, qu'on disait coupé, je ne relâchais pas tout de suite l'étreinte. Tout le monde fait ça. Quand on joue avec quelqu'un, qu'on est dans une scène, disons, érotique, ou du moins une scène qui implique l'intimité des corps, implique l'intimité de chacun, une scène où si vous êtes pris en pleine érection, vous ne savez pas comment votre partenaire va le prendre, vous devez contrefaire, mais jusqu'à un point. Et elle, toi, on ne pouvait pas contrefaire. Je me surprenais à bander, et j'avais envie de plonger dans le sol pour disparaître de honte. Tout le monde fait ça, pas bander. Les acteurs, je veux dire. On joue une scène d'amour avec sa partenaire, et on fait semblant comme pour de vrai. Parfois mieux qu'en vrai. On se surprend à être infiniment plus habile qu'en vrai. Infiniment plus doué, délicat, virtuose quand on joue. On manie le corps de son partenaire avec une aisance qu'on n'a en vérité pas. On se découvre un corps ignoré, faut se représenter. Pendant que vous jouez la scène si bien, que vous la jouez si bien, si pleinement, pendant que vous jouez, vous y êtes littéralement. Seule fois de votre vie où vous coïncidez, on pourrait dire. Seule fois de votre vie où vous n'êtes pas dédoublé. Vous ne vous regardez pas. Les acteurs ne se regardent pas, ils ont trop de choses à faire quand ils jouent. Je parle des bons acteurs, des actrices. Et pendant que vous y êtes, en vous, en votre partenaire, la scène avance et une voix dit « coupez ». Et là, au lieu de vous défaire immédiatement du corps de votre partenaire, comme il est attendu que vous le fassiez quand on a dit « couper », parce que c'est ce qu'il y a de plus difficile quand on joue, c'est le moment où on vous dit « arrête de jouer ». Mais c'est aussi bref qu'un choc. Le choc d'une brindille sur un dos nu, Alain. C'est aussi brutal et bref que ça, c'est comme mourir. Je veux dire, certains, tout le monde respire et puis ne respire plus et vous êtes mort et vous mourrez. Je ne sais pas comment dire. Tu meurs, tu es mort. Tu joues, tu jouais, tu ne joues plus. Donc c'est ce qu'il y a de plus difficile, c'est ce moment où tout s'arrête et que vous devriez instantanément vous séparer du corps de votre partenaire. Mais si vous le faites trop vite, votre partenaire va croire qu'elle vous dégoûte ou que vous préférez la réalité. Et si vous vous attardez, elle va croire que vous voulez la prendre là en fin de journée dans votre carloge et que vous préférez la fiction. Alors il faut trouver un tempo commun. Jouer ensemble, ce n'est pas jouer ensemble, c'est ne plus jouer ensemble. S'arrêter de jouer exactement ensemble. Agencer les corps quand ils sont rejetés hors du jeu. Trouver l'harmonie de cette expulsion. Parfois un tournage ne suffit pas. Les mauvais films, souvent, vous n'avez pas su trouver ce tempo avec vos partenaires. Mais elle, toi, c'est un peu miraculeux. Je ne sais pas ce que c'est, ce tempo qu'on a trouvé l'un avec l'autre. Parce que moi, je mettais du temps à me défaire de toi quand ils avaient dit couper. Et elle restait aussi, tu restais contre moi. Si bien qu'on ne se décollait pas. Jamais. Quand on jouait les scènes que je préférais, les scènes où je t'aimais. Alors je réalise qu'on s'est épousé sans se le dire. Et je n'ai jamais autant haï la réalité qu'à ces moments où on se déprenait et que couper nous coupait l'un de l'autre.